Welcome, everybody. This is the I Know Nothing podcast. Today we have on Avery Connolly. We started training together, we think, sophomore, junior year, so for a couple years. Avery, obviously I know who you are, but my massive audience might not. So can you just give us like a background of just who you are and kind of where you're at as an athlete right now?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Avery Connolly. I am a freshman at Siena College. I play women's lacrosse. I'm a midfielder, and I went to South Colony.
Yes. I'm going to have to pull out answers from Avery. Before we do anything, I need to recognize so my wife doesn't get mad that I have merch now. So this is the I Know Nothing podcast logo. I can't give it to my guests, so I apologize. One day when we get big, we'll throw them up.
Yeah, I'll buy one.
Yes. No, we're good for free. So what we've been doing here is kind of it going from you as a youth athlete, just you like younger and going in order all the way up through high school into college where you're at. So even though I know some of the things you did, I don't even know what you did as a young athlete. So can you kind of just take us through what sports you played growing up, and then let's build on it up until high school?
Yeah, so I started with rec soccer. I feel like everyone starts with rec soccer, but I hated it. Like, absolutely despised it. Soccer was not for me. I told my mom that if she coached my team that I would play, but I actually sat on the blanket the whole time and like waited for the snacks. Like, that was my thing, like snack time.
Really?
Yeah, I hated soccer and never tried to play it again. Like, would never do it again.
Would have never guessed that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. And then I got my first lacrosse stick from my uncle. I'm from a big lacrosse family. My uncle played at Towson, my dad played at Siena. Like, I knew that I'd be playing lacrosse. So I got my first lacrosse stick in first grade, so that's when I started to play. And we just did like the youth league, whatever they had at Colony. And then I did gymnastics for a real long time too. I think I started gymnastics in kindergarten, and then I quit around 5th or 6th grade when I wanted to like take lacrosse more seriously, because I would have been in the gym like 25 hours a week, and I could not have made that work with my like school schedule and if I wanted to pursue lacrosse. So I knew I had to stop that at some point. And then I played volleyball
That's right.
through
Forgot that.
high school. Tried basketball in 7th grade, not for me at all.
Why? You're an athlete.
No, I was not good. It was really. I was great. I was good at defense.
Yeah, that
but
makes sense.
I couldn't shoot. I was a 5th quarter starter when they had 5th quarter.
Oh yeah.
I made a 3-pointer in the 5th quarter, and everyone stood up and clapped for me. Like the whole. Like,
there you go.
Everyone.
See?
Yeah, that's how.
Maybe you did have it. You just didn't know.
No, it wasn't good. I wouldn't do it again. But yeah, that's
okay.
That's
so, but high school was specifically lacrosse and volleyball.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I know you and I always talk about it, but like, do you think gymnastics helped you as an athlete? And if so, how did it help you as an athlete?
100%. I think my upper body strength would not be where it is today without gymnastics.
Yeah.
I remember like every Friday was like our ab day. Like, we would go in and we would do abs for like 30 minutes to warm up before we started doing any sort of gymnastics. But yeah, without gymnastics, I definitely wouldn't be like where I am today, like strength wise.
And I think, I remember telling you this when I first met you, and you told me you played gymnastics, and I knew you were a good athlete, but I'm like, that's it. When someone tells me that they've done gymnastics or dance at a young age, typically they're good movers. Typically they learn faster as an athlete. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that's actually missing nowadays.
Yeah.
And with training with me, not that I'm doing gymnastic stuff, but we do a lot of things that are more body weight calisthenic style because I believe in it. And you did it at a young age, and for the most part, knock on wood, right? You haven't had many injuries like from sport, and you're a phenomenal mover, and you've been strong your whole career. So I think it's important. And I think it's important for like parents to realize that even though gymnastics is an incredible time thing when that's an issue, getting into it at a young age is definitely worth it, I think.
No, I say all the time that I want to put my kids in gymnastics.
100%.
Like, even if they don't want to continue with it, like, I would love for them to at least start with it.
I think at some point, probably in your lifetime, you'll see gymnastics and strength and conditioning merge more, where like in the younger levels, you have like a gymnastics coach or someone with a gymnastics background doing very, very low level stuff as like a movement competency thing, learning. We'll move on from it. I just love gymnastics, and I love the fact that you did it. So we go through, we're going to middle school-ish, we're going into high school. When did you start realizing that you were really good at lacrosse? Or have you always been good at lacrosse?
I feel like I was always like good at it. I have always just loved to run. Like I'm super fast, love to run. I actually wanted to switch to softball in 5th grade, but my dad like knew. He was like, "No, you can't do that."
Oh
Because like
wow.
I'm just such like a kid who needs to be running all the time.
Yeah.
Like that's
Okay.
why I'm a midfielder. I love
Right.
to run. So I feel like my speed always helped me with it. Like even
Okay.
if my skills weren't as good as the other people, my speed was what kind of like surpassed me in other like aspects of the game. But I mean, I love just like going on the wall and playing wall ball to get better with like
Right.
basic skills
Right.
and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like I was always, I don't know. I don't want to say like better than people, but
Well, you can be cocky to in a sense. You're a Division 1 lacrosse player, so
yeah.
like people already know that you're that good. The message I'm trying to pull out of you is like, okay, a lot of the times I get a ton of young lacrosse
Hmm.
girls in here. I've trained lacrosse players my whole career, and sometimes people come in and they're just not that good at lacrosse, so
Hmm.
I have to focus on like the basics. But I was just curious when you realized it, but I'm assuming you're probably always pretty good.
Yeah.
And when you're faster than everybody, especially on your
Hmm.
levels, you can get past people
Yeah.
easier. So, okay. When you got to high school from middle school, was there any big change from the game to going into high school?
I feel like going from like modified to JV, I think there was definitely a little bit of a like a jump just
Hmm.
because modified was definitely like not super competitive at all. And like JV, like we had Coach Woodard as a coach. Like she
Right.
likes to win. So she kind
Yes.
of like instilled that in us, like that winner like mentality. So it was like we all wanted to win. So I feel like the competitive nature and like the level of play stepped up because we wanted it to be higher than
Right.
it was on modified because we wanted to win. And then the same thing with varsity, but since she was also our coach there, I feel like it was kind of just like an easy transition. But yeah, people do get better. Like other teams, players get better as like they go from modified to
Hmm.
JV to varsity. Like I remember, I feel like Shaker was like the biggest jump of like skill from where they were on JV to where they were on varsity.
Interesting.
So it was like it's just like cool to see that like what teams are different and on like different
For
levels.
sure. Shaker is our rival, everybody, just so
Yes.
you know. They're
Yes.
North Colony, we are South Colony. Did you when you were in high school, were you playing on a club team? Were you already on a club team? How does
Mhm.
that work? I know you played for Power, right? I
Yeah.
don't know too much about it though.
Yeah, so I started playing power in 5th grade.
Okay.
You're not really supposed to start that young. I played with girls who were like 3 years older than me on my team. Like there
Okay.
was one point where I was playing with like a girl 2 years older, Bella Boardman. I was
Oh
playing
yeah.
on her team. She's 2 years older than me. Um, because they didn't really have a team for us, but we still wanted to like
Hmm.
get our feet in the water, see what it was like to play competitively. And I feel like that was a big like that helped me a lot like competitive wise because I was literally playing girls that were 3 years older than me as like a
Yeah.
5th grader.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was little, like I was a really small kid. I still like am. I'm like 5'3", but
Yeah.
like I don't know. I feel like playing club early. I always tell people to like it's what's gonna get you out there. It's gonna get you exposed because yeah, the competitiveness around here is good. Like we
Yeah.
have a good section, but you don't know what it's like until
Right.
you
Right.
get out there and play girls from Long Island. So
For sure. I mean, northeast lacrosse in general is fairly good,
yeah.
especially once you get outside of the section. Okay, so you're playing at this point in high school. You're volleyball, high school lacrosse, club lacrosse.
Yeah.
No club volleyball.
No.
Were you playing? But you're playing lacrosse all year round because
Mhm.
that's like a normal thing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and volleyball is just in season in the fall.
Yeah, that was just like a fun thing. A lot of
Yeah.
my friends played it. I would like played sports with the same group of girls like from 7th grade like to high school. So we all just kind of like stuck with it, and it was just like a fun thing that we did for like extra training and
I
stuff.
yeah. I mean, obviously, just knowing you and knowing the group, I think you had a very rare occurrence,
Yeah,
especially nowadays. You play with a group of girls all almost the same age and some
yeah,
maybe a year difference, but that played together for a long time.
yeah,
And I mean, hence why you guys were so good.
yeah.
But I think it's a really special thing that you had. Obviously, you know that, but not many people have that experience, I don't think.
No, yeah.
Also, coming up through Coach Woodard's program is just unbelievable.
Hmm.
All right, let's go to the topic that you brought up to me. So, you obviously going through lacrosse, you knew you were going to go play lacrosse in college. Like,
Hmm.
I think that was pretty apparent at a young age.
Yep.
You have a pretty big thing happen to you your junior year. So
Yep.
you can go through how much as you want, but kind of tell your side of the story of what happened and then where you're at right now.
Okay, yeah. So, in the summer of 2019, I was actually at a Sienna lacrosse camp, and
Oh,
it was like,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
it was really hot outside. We were warming up, and I was doing bear crawls. And when I came up from my bear crawls, my heart just started absolutely racing, like going crazy. My vision started to go blurry, like all this stuff. I like had no idea what was going on. So I called the coach over, and I was like, my heart is racing really bad. So she just had me sit out. I never really thought anything of it. Could have been, I was like, oh, maybe it's dehydration. Maybe it's
Yeah,
just because
yeah.
it's so hot outside, whatever. But it kept going like throughout the rest of the year. But my episodes were like so sporadic that we didn't really like, still like didn't really think anything of it. I talked to my pediatrician about it. We thought maybe it was some sort of like panic attack because I would always get it during some sort of physical activity, but it would be like during like a big game or like
Interesting.
a practice where I was really stressed that day, like something like that. So I thought it had something to do with stress, had something to do with panic attack, something like that. And it wasn't until I was actually talking to my mom about this. She reminded me. It was before my junior year season. We were working out with you in the weight room, and my heart went off. And I was like, I told Coach Woodard because obviously she knew what was going on, and she was like, all right, like go tell Coach June. And I told you, and you were like, you need to sit down. And you were like, I will not allow you back in this weight room until you go to the cardiologist.
I remember.
And I was like, and we've gone before, but they just didn't know what was wrong with me. I don't know. I don't think they handled it the best. But
Yeah.
I kept getting these like handheld like heart monitors where whenever I would have an episode, I'd like press the button, hold it up, and then you'd call like the landline and you'd like hold it through and it would like measure it. But so I went to the cardiologist and they were like, all right, we'll give you one again. Because they would only give it to me for like months at a time.
Right.
But I would sometimes go 6 months without having an episode. So it was like I could never catch it. And it was I want to say March of 2023. It had to have been. Yeah, March of 2023. We were at Afram's and my heart went off and I had the monitor. And then I had to call it in later, and the doctor calls me and he says that my heart rate was at 278 beats per minute. And I was like, I think I went into like shock. I was like, how am I not dead?
100%.
I never passed out from an episode. I would like sometimes lose my hearing a little bit, but I would never pass out or anything. And that's when he was like, you need to stop. Like you're cut off from all like physical activity until we can do something about this. So I ended up getting a cardiac ablation in June of 2023, and then got back into things after that, and then still having a little bit of like fluttering and some more problems. So I just got my second ablation in July of 2024.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
With you had to miss
Yes.
your junior season, which is a big season,
Yeah.
right? Obviously for many different reasons. And you had just, when we were talking about stuff we were going to go over, you're like, well, what did you learn? So obviously it's a tough situation, but now that you can look back at it and obviously like you're alive, which is the most important, and you guys have figured it out and you're doing much better and playing college lacrosse. What are some things that you think you've learned, from that situation at a young age?
So it was definitely like tough not being able to be on the field, especially because we had been doing so much to prepare for that season, because like everyone was saying like that was the season where we were going to win sectionals.
Yeah.
Like that was it. We had like one of the best teams that we've had in a few years. So it was really hard knowing that I couldn't like be out there on the field and being able to produce and help my team win and stuff like that. My team was doing just fine without me, but like still.
Yeah.
But I feel like I learned so much from just being on the sideline. You see the game in a whole different aspect when you're not actually on the field. And I think it made me a completely different lacrosse player. So, I mean, I'm thankful for the time that I was out. Of course, I wish I wasn't, but I mean, it's better to think of it that way. Like I learned something from it, not.
Well, for sure. And I think at the time, what are you, 16 years old, 17 years old? It's so easy knowing that you've been a role player, like a top role player for this program for a long time. And then all of a sudden you're not allowed to play and having to watch everyone else play good games and bad games, right? Like you want to be part of all of it.
Exactly.
I think, obviously I know you, like your maturity is way different than most kids your age, but I think it's a pretty empowering thing that you were able to take a step back, figure out how you can help the team, how you can still be a supportive teammate and friend, but also learn the game. Like you're saying, like from a different aspect of like, okay, well, what can I do? I can't just sit here and be negative about things, because you easily could have, and you could have easily shut down and never played lacrosse ever again. And here you are. So let's go continue positive now. Let's stay positive. just an honest concern and question of mine for everybody right now. And I asked you yesterday, I said, how was your recruiting process? And Avery just rolls her eyes like, oh my gosh, almost as if like you're so happy you're done with it.
Yeah.
So I apologize to bring that up,
That's fine.
but I'm just curious because again, like I was telling you before we started, is we're trying to give information from athletes who are doing it, not just from some strength coach who's now old, like just talking crap to a camera. Like, when did it start?
Mhm.
What are like the specific things you can highlight from what you had to experience to the point where you finally signed with Sienna? Like, how did that whole thing go?
Yeah. Okay. So I always say that like my recruiting process started when I knew that I wanted to play like Division I lacrosse.
Yeah.
Because like that's when I knew that I had to put in that work to like be where I wanted
That's
to
a
be.
clip. Put that work in.
Yeah. Like my dad used to always say to me, like the best work is done when no one's watching. Like I used to go outside in the backyard, just like reps on the bounce back, always shooting, always stuff like that, because that's gonna translate into the game. Like no matter what you think, like that, it's gonna translate. So I remember I started making like highlight reels of me playing. I think like 8th grade year, and
You were making them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because
Okay.
we would like my dad would film me or like my
Yeah.
mom would film me. We also have like the huddle camera at our school.
Right.
So like I would put those together and put them out there, and we used sports recruits. So you could like see when the college coaches were like viewing your profiles, and that was pretty cool. It, like yeah, it, like kept me motivated. But it's all about like putting yourself out there. Like there were days where I did not want to wake up and go to the clinic that I signed up for. But like there's so many coaches there. Like with women's lacrosse, there's so much exposure, and you can do so much to get your name out there. So it's all about pretty much like you wanting to do it. Like if you don't want to, you don't want to. But if you want to, you have to put in that work, because there's so many girls trying to get recruited for lacrosse. But like the specific like September 1 recruiting process, it went well for me, I'd say. I feel like I always knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to go to Sienna. I would just never say it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I always knew in the back of my mind that that's where I'd end up. And I'm lucky that they did reach out to me. But like I was looking at a few other schools too, but Sienna just has always felt like home to me.
Yeah.
My parents both went there. My parents got married there.
At Sienna?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We went to church there every Sunday. It was like
gosh.
Yeah, it was like already my second home.
Okay,
so
this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you, again, I feel like I'm always playing catch up with how the recruiting process works, but I need to educate myself as well. So I'm very curious of, for lacrosse, you're going to things as a team, like you're going from like Albany Power, you're making highlight tapes, you're going on your own to things, all of that?
Yep.
So you have to go to stuff by yourself.
Yep.
You have to go with your team and get into these showcase tournaments so you're seen by coaches, and you have to be making highlight tapes.
Yep.
It's
a lot of work.
But that's what I'm saying is I'm trying to make the point to everyone, like you, it's not like, oh, you're good at lacrosse at modified, some coach is going to find you. It is so cutthroat right now where, even Sienna could have been like, oh, here's Avery, but she didn't go to this clinic.
Yeah.
So now we're taking this person over here. And I think it's so valuable to hear people, like you started in 8th grade for 5 years to get to a Division I program and actually get there, play there, and all of those things. So I think people just don't understand it, and maybe they do, but it's good to hear it out of your mouth, not mine.
Yeah. Okay,
so you started to kind of make my head spin. I'm going off of this, not off the script now. So when you were waking up every day, you're doing wall ball on your own, you're doing all these things on your own. And I always joke with you about like exercise selection where I'm like, I don't think there's like a special exercise. And what I think I hear from you is like, you just put in the work all the time.
Yeah.
There wasn't some special lacrosse drill or like you were going to camps and clinics, but like there wasn't some like special camp clinic that made you Avery, like the lacrosse player that you are. So just take us briefly of like the work. What were you actually doing? You were doing wall ball. Like the stick was always in your hand.
Yeah.
What was the process like just in high school when you were working?
Like obviously strength training with you.
Yeah.
I think helped a lot. Like the speed, we worked on a lot of speed stuff, especially because I was on the draw circle in high school. So like you have to have that first step, and girls are fast in high school. Like I won't deny that. Like obviously it's not college level, but still, girls are super fast. So like speed stuff, and then always playing wall ball. I had my stick in my hand a lot. Shooting on my own, doing stuff with like Kate and Chelsea all the time. And like my team, we would just do extra work. Like after our workouts, we would run in the hallway. Like who does that?
Yes.
So just like all that, like everything. like anything that you can think of. Watching games helped a lot, like
Mm-hmm.
watching college level games, because it just makes you think about things differently. Watching our high school film, breaking stuff down. So yeah.
I love it. When we're talking about the strength training, technically this is supposed to be a strength conditioning podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a strength coach. I know we work together, but you had done strength stuff too on your own, and you've done other stuff. What do you think were like the biggest values you took away from strength training as an athlete, but also just like as a human?
Um, well, I like personally know like I felt like peace in the weight room. Like I don't know what it was. Like if I was having a bad day, like if I knew that we had a workout later, like I don't know, like everything could just like go out the window. Like I could
Mm,
just like focus on one thing, and that's the same with lacrosse for me. Like if I know I'm having a bad day, like I'll go to the field and shoot. Like that's
right.
just what I do.
Yes.
It's just like such a like stress reliever for me. And I feel like that was like one of my biggest takeaways from it, honestly. And then like the speed training stuff, honestly, like I know when I came back from missing my junior season, my biggest thing that I felt was that I was slow, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Right.
I need to work on this. So like stuff like that too, like getting back to where I was, like
And we
speed
realized
training.
you weren't slow,
Yeah.
and we timed it right away. The peace thing is actually really cool, and not many people talk about that. That's how I have always viewed the weight room for a lot of
Mhm.
athletes. Where when I was playing sports, a lot of times if I'm having a rough day, if I'm having a rough day at the field, I would go to the weight room as peace of mind. And I think it's something that everybody works out nowadays. You obviously know that you're at the Division 1 level now. You see what's going on. All the girls work out. It's part of your program.
Yeah.
Everybody in high school nowadays is working out. It's not the special workout. It's exactly that. It's not that you can just build confidence in the weight room. It's part of an outlet. It doesn't mean you have to love the weight room,
Mhm.
but it's part of being an athlete
Yeah.
for sure. But it's also something that you're going to take on with you for the rest of your life. One day when you decide to stop playing lacrosse, okay, hopefully a long time from now, you're going to need to find something, whether that's running, lifting, and now you have a background in, like, hopefully I educated you enough,
Yeah.
or you could write your own program if you wanted to,
Mhm.
you know? Okay, we're doing pretty good on time, but we're going to start to chip away here because we still need to work out today. Just overall, what has worked best for you as an athlete specifically? Meaning, like, okay, is it your routine? Is it because you just did the little things right? Is it because you have great parents and like they pushed
Mhm.
it? Is it all of it? Just some things that you think have worked for you from, let's say, like high school to now as a college athlete.
Um, I feel like I know a lot of people like don't have this. Some people do, and they're lucky to have it. But I feel like the competitive nature of like what Colony lacrosse was like
Yeah,
taught me how to compete, taught me how to like want to win, and like all the girls, like even though they're my best friends, like during practice when we would get on the field, like we would compete, and it was to make us better
love it.
and like make us better athletes, make us better at our sport. And I think that's one of like my biggest takeaways from it
For
is
sure.
just the competitive nature.
It's
So
Connolly Lacrosse is a special program.
yeah,
Shout out Coach Woodard.
yeah,
Shout out
you're the best.
Connolly Lax. One day she needs to come on this podcast. Maybe
Yeah.
we can do a team
Oh yes,
alumni lacrosse podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, in more specifically now, what do you think? I know it's your freshman year and you've gone through a fall. You're about to go into your first spring.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest things you've seen, like specifically from the lacrosse side of things, from the weight room,
Mm-hmm.
from high school to Siena?
I feel like in the weight room we train like similarly
Mhm.
to the way that we did in high
Yeah.
school. Like some like obviously some speed movements, a lot of weight movements. But I feel like honestly the biggest difference I saw wasn't in the weight room but on the field. Like
Yeah.
the speed of the game is completely different. It's so much faster, and I knew that it was going to be faster, but I feel like you don't know really until you like get out there and you're like, "Whoa, like this is
Oh, yeah.
really fast." So, it was just all about like taking the fall to kind of, get used to it and all that stuff. And now that we're about to be in the spring season, we start in 2 days. It's
Yes.
like it's now when you really have to like harp in on all the stuff that you were working on and like really train like a D1 athlete now.
100%.
So
Yeah, that's the answer I'm looking for,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, I think in most sports, and that's why, I mean, you've known me for a couple years now, I harp on speed, speed, speed,
mhm,
because the game is faster.
Yeah.
And if you want to be better, and you're someone who is very fast, I mean, you're
Mhm.
one of the fastest athletes I've ever trained.
mhm,
We have times to prove that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're super fast, and the game is even fast to you,
Yeah.
someone who is fast and understands speed. So it's just a major piece for athletes to understand, because you know my philosophies on training, where I love the weight room, But you and I have never done just strength training. It's always been an element of speed and power.
Yeah.
And now you know, right? Like a lot of athletes go through college and they get slower, but the game still stays fast. And they wonder why they're not getting any better. You got to still harp on speed. I won't go off on a tangent. Okay, this is your podcast, not a speed podcast. All right, a couple more minutes. This is what I've been asking everybody. First, just a couple points, 1, 2, 3, of advice you have for the young Averys of the world, for young athletes who are coming up, who are going to be going through the recruiting process, who want to play D1. What are some pieces of advice that you would have told your younger self?
I would just say, like, do it if you love it. If you don't love it, like, don't do it, but you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know how many podcasts we've done. You're about the 15th person who has said that right there.
Like, it's because it's a lot. It really is. And if you're not willing to put in the work, don't do it. But I feel like people who love it, putting in the work is just like a second nature. Like, it doesn't feel like work because you love it so much. And as you get to that higher level and as the work that you have to put in gets harder, it's going to be even more challenging if you don't love what you're doing.
Couldn't agree with you more. Love it. Youth athletes, listen to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, it happens because, again, you're living in this world. I always remind you, like, this is the world you're living in. There's a lot of noise. Instagram, social media, TikTok. Avery's downfall is TikTok. But my point is like, it's like constantly like, oh, I got to do this as a lacrosse player. But if you don't love the game, you're just not going to get to that point.
Exactly.
And play and thrive and love what you get to do.
Yeah, and make it fun too. Like, lacrosse is fun. There's so many fun drills that you can do. Like different stick work and stuff like that. Just keep it interesting. Like, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's going to get boring. So just do fun things.
This one's an interesting question. This is advice to the parents of those athletes. It can be anything, right? So, like, this is going to happen, right? You're going to have recruits that come to Siena and parents are there. What would you tell parents as someone who went through the recruiting process, has gone through the ringer, had to miss a junior season, now plays Division I lacrosse? What would you tell a parent?
Be encouraging, but don't be controlling.
Ooh, clip that.
Yeah.
I love it. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I might just have that on Instagram, like, as a reel right now.
Like, encourage your kids to be great. Encourage your kids to put themselves out there. But if they don't want to, there's unfortunately nothing you can do to make them want it. Like, that's up to them. So. For
sure. I think both those points are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think we did this in exactly 34 minutes.
Wow.
You are a number 4 as well, so I have to make the statement, right? Are you wearing 4 at Siena?
No, I'm wearing 6.
No.
But we had to wear 4, or I had to wear 4 because for fall we have to swap our pennies so that they can't scout us. Why do we have to go to 36? Because of that?
No, because I wear number 4. So anybody who wears number 4, I saw the 4 in the picture you had sent me. I was like, oh, Avery's wearing 4 this year.
Unfortunately not.
They wear it because they're not, so that you don't see who's from a recruiting perspective. Interesting. Okay, well, everybody. Avery, thanks so much for coming on. We just talked about this yesterday. I said, let's just do a podcast. And you guys can't tell, but we're actually in a closet right now, and we got it done.
I'm like sweating. It's hot.
We're good warm up for our workout. Maybe someday we'll do the alumni lax thing. I think that'd be a blast. We'll get Coach Woodard on here, Kate, Chelsea, all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks everybody for listening. This is the I Know Nothing podcast. Avery, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Let's pray to God in videotape. Because if